Got $100 million or less to burn? A company formed by Boeing and Lockheed Martin want to cut back costs of putting rockets in space. Their own, that is. United Launch Alliance plans to launch their Vulcan rocket by the mid-2020s at a cost of less than $100 million. The rocket's boosters are detachable and autonomous. They use an inflatable aeroshell to re-enter Earth's atmosphere. Reportedly, the cost of a ULA Delta IV Heavy launch is $400 million. SpaceX Falcon 9 launches cost $62 million, and Falcon Heavy costs around $90 million. After deploying a parachute, the booster is caught in midair by a helicopter and taken back for reuse. That's different to SpaceX's boosters, which return autonomously using fuel. But sometimes, rockets burn all fuel reserves to get where they need to be, meaning that they don't have enough for the return journey. The upper stage of the Vulcan rocket is fueled by cryogenic hydrogen and oxygen. These are said to be more adaptable to the elements of space than rocket-grade RP-1 kerosene. This can be left in orbit where it can be refueled and used for other space-based missions. What rocket would you put your payload on? SpaceX is in the lead. For now. Uncrewed spaceplane nails drop test. Scientists dropped this spaceplane from a helicopter over the Mojave Desert on Saturday. The privately built autonomous Dream Chaser spaceplane completed a free flight drop test in California on Saturday, November 11th. It can carry 7 passengers and looks like a smaller version of current NASA shuttles. Dream Chaser will use Atlas rockets to fly half a dozen delivery missions to the International Space Station by 2024. The test examined the plane during the final approach and landing phase of flight. The Dream Chaser was uncrewed, meaning it was flying on auto, but despite that, it pretty much crushed the drop test.
8,000 feet.
Copy 8,000. Good radar altimeters.
Approach and land. PTIs.
Copy approach and lands. PTIs are active.
End of PTIs.
Copy. PTIs complete.
400 feet.
Copy 400.
Landing gear.
Copy gear deploy.
Good gear deploy.
5 feet. Touchdown.
Is the ISS about to go commercial? Heads up, investors. The International Space Station might soon be up for grabs. Trump is planning to cut off funding to the ISS after 2024 and wants to instead turn it over to the private sector. In his vision of events, the space station would be a commercially run venture. NASA won't be managing, and it will be just another client. Of course, at the moment, the president doesn't have anything specific in mind, but he will be requesting $150 million in funding to hammer out the plan. For all we know, it could be goodbye science experiments and hello space hotels. Or not, because, man, that's an expensive ride. If the US does give up its space outpost, there's no doubt Russia and China are going to swoop in to lead the space race. Apart from Trump and NASA's new administrator, though, no one else seems on board with this privatization mission. Even Ted Cruz called the idea extremely stupid. Here's hoping someone, everyone, can stop this madness.
New Zealand joins the space race. Test launches for a commercial space rocket built by a startup based both in Los Angeles and New Zealand are scheduled to take place this week. The Rocket Lab Electron is made of carbon composite material, and its rocket boosters use 3D printed Rutherford engines. The rocket's first stage has a cluster of 9 electric engines that burn liquid oxygen and refined kerosene. The second stage has a single vacuum-optimized engine that can carry payloads weighing up to 225 kilograms. The Electron rocket will deliver small satellites into space. They will be used for mapping, to predict the weather, provide high-speed internet, and analyze the environment. Rocket Lab plans to complete 3 test launches before the Electron is available commercially. The company plans to eventually build and launch 1 rocket per week, with flights costing around $5 million each. SpaceX to fly 2 tourists around the moon next year. This week, SpaceX announced bold plans to next year fly 2 paying passengers around the moon, using technology that's still in development. In 2018, SpaceX hopes to fly 2 private citizens deeper into space than any human has journeyed previously. The 2 travelers will trek some 400,000 miles around and beyond the moon during the 7-day mission, before looping back to Earth. Before training for the mission, SpaceX says each of the unnamed passengers will undergo a series of tests for their health and fitness. The passengers are set to travel aboard a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft, shot into orbit by a multi-stage Vulcan heavy rocket. The still-in-design rocket's first stage consists of 3 reusable rockets that produce 500,000 pounds of thrust. After separating, the central rocket propels the payload into orbit, where it continues on its voyage. SpaceX founder Elon Musk says the travelers will be trained for emergencies. However, the Crew Dragon spacecraft, which is also still being developed, will be mainly piloted autonomously. The crew can monitor real-time ship diagnostics, change the temperature, and take in views through one of the vessel's 4 windows. The spacecraft will conduct a flyby of the surface of the moon before traveling further out into space, where no human has gone before. It will then use the moon's gravity to slingshot back toward Earth. SpaceX hopes to launch the mission in late 2018, following a series of tests on the rocket and spacecraft. The identity of those traveling remains unknown, but one thing's for sure, they're very brave individuals indeed, and possibly also Scrooge McDuck rich.